Hey everybody, my name is Dominic Campagna and I'm the president at Glue. At Glue, we work with over 8,000 stores today. And across all those stores, they range in different sizes. I work with companies that have maybe one brand. I have another one that has 12 different brands underneath them. There's other organizations that sell on marketplaces. They have brick and mortar, or they might just be strictly online. But I've seen a lot of commonalities across these brands and a lot of the challenges they face before we start working with them. Today we'll be covering the 5 biggest data mistakes and what you should not be doing. And so to get things started, the first one is a lack of clear ownership. I see this all the time. A lot of brands and organizations, they see someone that has an analytical background, or they work in Excel sheets a lot, or it's somebody that's has more time free that they can take this project on. It's one of the biggest mistakes. They're not dedicated towards it. It's not their number one priority. They might not even have the right background for it as well too. So I've seen this quite a bit. You have someone who's kind of in this role and they're hearing things about metrics and kind of building dashboards. They might not have the full picture or understanding where the company is headed in those initiatives, and it really sets these companies up for failure. You're gonna have a lot of meetings where you're not getting what you need, you don't have the right metrics in front of you, and someone doesn't own it. They're gonna get to it when they can. My advice is that you pick somebody that they know it is their role, it is their job, they have a background with data and analytics and a history maybe of working with these teams, or you're giving them the right tools and resources to help them be successful within that role. So I highly recommend someone who's dedicated towards it and it's part of their day-to-day job. It's extremely important. This is also really important because you have a lot of departments, right? You have department leads, you have a lot of people asking for data. You have a lot of these new initiatives that might be coming up from the executive level down to different initiatives that you're running. You almost need that filter. You need someone who's gonna be that area to really take in that information within the organization, prioritize it, and work on it accordingly. The second one is misalignment with strategic initiatives. I see this often, building reports and insights or going to grab a metric for the sake of doing it. You need to really start with your initiatives at the top. Is it around new customer acquisition? Is it around getting new customers to be repeat purchasers and getting your AOV and LTV up? Maybe you have initiatives this year with new partnerships that you have. We're going to be launching 10 or so new products or collaborations. You really want data to be supporting those big initiatives that your organization is working on. You're putting all this time and all these resources towards it, but yet the data is missing to support it and to really make strategic decisions in real time. So that misalignment causes a lot of confusion, probably frustration within your organization. So my advice is to really make sure you're outlining what are your strategic initiatives. And maybe it's for this month, it could be for this quarter, it could be for the entire year. Get in a room with your department leads and the owners of those initiatives and make sure you have your data people in that room with you. How many times I've seen it where these meetings are happening in silos and then they send over the requirements, or they kind of tell them about what's going on. There's a lot of power, and I would see a lot of success, I should say, when all these people are together. They're talking through it, they're understanding. If it was that easy, everybody would be doing this. It is complex. People need to understand. They have different perspectives, and there's a lot of data that's out there, and you want to get that right information at your fingertips. The third biggest mistake is unclear key data metrics. You see it a lot that agreeing on data metrics, once again, is overlooked. Throwing requirements and items that you need over the fence causes a lot of confusion. If you're sitting in your seat today and you feel like every single day you're getting a new request about data, I guarantee you there's misalignment. So getting everybody together once again is really, really important on this and agreeing upon what those metrics are. And of course they're gonna change over time. I mean, that's just the reality of it. You're gonna have new ways you wanna maybe slice and cut up the data and see it, but really laying down your baseline around e-commerce, marketing, operations, the business as a whole, and getting your key requirements all in one place that you all can make sure that you have that information at your fingertips is critical. I see a lot of organizations, they don't have, and especially when we start working with them, they don't even have a simplified dashboard. of like their key metrics in one place. I would start there and just get the foundation done, making sure you have your key top 4 or 5 metrics that you're measuring your department against, and then from there leveraging that foundation to start breaking out more granular details that are tied to your strategic initiatives and data that actually matters. The fourth mistake is inconsistent data calculations and definitions. How many times do you hear one department calculate revenue different from the other? It happens a lot. What's really important is that you're creating that single source of truth that everybody is working off of. Everyone shouldn't have their own Excel sheets on how they calculate things or taking in different data points to get to those numbers, because it causes confusion. One organization in their department might be looking at revenue a little bit differently than maybe the finance team or the operations team. But having that all within one place where you all agree upon the data itself, the calculations that goes into it, if you're pulling in shipping information and other fees and subtracting that from your revenue costs, you need to make sure that you're aligned. I see it time and time again where one department might say, this number's wrong. Check out my Excel sheet. Look at what this looks like. This is what we need to be working off of. And imagine you spend 1 or 2 hours every week dealing with that. Knocking that out and getting it organized in one place will help a lot of your teams break down those silos and also make sure everyone's rowing in the same direction. The fifth mistake is they don't have the right tools in place. I'll see some organizations that might be doing anywhere from $50 million a year to hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're still leveraging going into just Shopify or their ad platforms, or what they're doing if they especially have a multi-brand or multi-store setup, they're still trying to go into all these places, extract all that data, run calculations, and their Excel sheet blows up because it just can't handle all this information and all the work that you're trying to do to get to these right numbers. My advice to a lot of folks is that you should really start looking into a data pipeline, a data warehouse, a business intelligence tool. If you're still working out of just Shopify or just BigCommerce or just some of these ad platforms to get your numbers and you're a pretty large brand, you're really doing a disservice to your organization. It's slowing you down. You're not getting the right metrics. You want to see things differently. You need that flexibility of saying, give me all my data, all that historical information. I want to see how we did previously. I want to be better about forecasting. I want to slice and cut this up in a way that makes sense to my business because we're different. Every organization is different. And you need that level of flexibility. Data is a competitive advantage, and you can beat out your competitors by having the right data at your fingertips in a timely manner. It is worth investing into a couple of tools that get started and maybe build on after that to get more advanced insights. So I talked about everything you should not do. So let's talk about things that you should do moving forward. And I created this data alignment blueprint that you can leverage, and you can grab it down in the description. But this template really outlines almost like a framework that you can leverage within your brand and organization to get everybody on the same page and really put structure in place to get everyone the right data to truly make a difference at your organization. And so it starts off with simply a project overview. Think about the name, the objectives, the key stakeholders, which is sometimes a pretty big miss. That's really detailing out technical owners, business owners, and then I would even go down to the department level. So who's the marketing lead, who's the operations, finance, customer service, merchandising, really you name it. Getting someone who's like the real owner of that department. And when I say real, you're having discussions about them, about their objectives, what they're trying to accomplish. They might put you in touch with other folks within that department to get you what you need or drive the right conversations, but there needs to be a dedicated owner and someone who can sign off and make decisions so you don't keep reverse engineering what you're doing. And so having those owners, that's critical, and it needs to be defined, and everyone agrees. The second part is key business initiatives. So this is really detailing out your top initiatives. Once again, this can be at the executive level, so making sure the company and organization and everybody's on the same page around what are the top 3 or 4 initiatives that we're running this month, this quarter, for this year that we need to be working towards, and how data supports that. You can have initiatives around maybe repeat customers. Maybe there's things around new customer acquisition. These are very high level, but you can get some more specific objectives underneath each of those where they're detailed out and really everybody is on the same page. The third section will be around key data points. So you might, after you start learning a little bit more about the initiatives, whether it's around, customer acquisition, new versus repeat, maybe it's new product launches that you're gonna have coming up this year, you gotta figure out what those key data points are. So it could be like product data, conversion data, customer data, and also having a description and what's the importance of it. So understanding maybe even down to like the key data points that you're looking to pull in. The fourth section, that's around definitions and key metrics. So you might have AOV in there, you might have LTV, it might be revenue, but you have those definitions in there and the calculations also associated to it. Once again, this is gonna help with the whole, what metrics are we using? What have we agreed upon as our revenue numbers or figures that we'll be taking into consideration and pulling in the right fields to get that true calc? This gets everyone on the same page. The fifth area will be the key data sources. So you'll list out your different sources. That could be your e-commerce cart, maybe it's your returns platform, your ERP, your web analytics that you're tracking, and the key data that's provided from each of those. So it's really clear what those sources are. Number 6, really it's your data integration plan. So what are the tools and technologies that you will be using? Are you going to invest in a data pipeline? Are you going to be building your own APIs to extract and pull this data? Are you going to start manual to get things started? Maybe someone going into each of these, pulling that data, but we're clear on what data we care about, what calculations we care about, the definitions, and how we're going to make sure we get those metrics. But also put in there data quality checks, just making sure that you're pulling the right data at the right time and you have everything in one place. Number 7, reporting and visualization. This is the key reports. So we kind of talked about this a little bit from the initiative view. And then we broke it down into the core like KPIs and the data sources and metrics and definitions, but now it's the actual reports themselves. Some of them you might have a high level overview that's specific to your operations department or finance or marketing. You might have an executive view, or maybe you're building a dashboard for a very specific product launch that has some advanced filtering on top of it that needs to be sent out once a week. This is where you define what we're actually going to be building out, how it's going to be used, who's going to be using it, and you're all on the same page there, which leads into section 8, which is the project timeline. You have your initiatives, you have your key stakeholders, you're having all of this rolling up and the reports that are needed, and now you start putting in your start date, your milestones for getting these created and running, and you're all on the same page around what's going to be delivered. Here we're getting it really organized and we're on the same page around what needs to be prioritized, because you might be 1, 2, or 3 people in a company responsible for this, but you're supporting 8 different departments. So it's really important that you get aligned on it. And then the next section is around risk and mitigation strategies, really just defining what's going to prevent us from hitting maybe these deadlines or these timeframes. So that first report, that second report, or maybe it's that big initiative that you have coming up in Q3 that you need to make sure the reporting is in place for. It has a quality check and it's being automated accordingly to the right people. We're going to detail those out. It might open up your eyes a little bit to more resources that might be needed, more technology that might be needed, or maybe you just simply need to pivot and maybe shorten the scope or limit the scope just a little bit to make sure that you are producing results. And then lastly, you'll have almost like an appendix where you can list out your data dictionary, your stakeholder contact list, and even some technical documentation. Once again, each company might have a unique setup, different people that are involved. You want to make sure that this is all stored within one place. This should be helpful. This is the data alignment blueprint. Once again, you can get this in the description itself. You can use it today if you want to. Best of luck out there. If you like this video, please check out What is Commerce Analytics and click here.